Hi all. I hope you're doing okay during this crazy time. First off, I want to thank all those that have been out on the front line for us, our medical folks, the folks at the grocery stores, the folks who've been delivering things and making it possible for us to have a quality of life during this time. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all you've done for us. From the education side of things, right now we're taking spring break, many of us, and so we're trying to determine what to best do with our time. And it's a little more challenging than it would be during regular spring break when we'd be out running around some really cool places. So one of the things I thought might help is that maybe to share with you something you might learn. And many of you may know how to do this, but I thought I'd show you how to juggle and teach you some of the basic steps. So many years ago when I was a student, I struggled with wanting to be able to do something, but didn't know how to do it. Juggling was one of those things I saw happen in many different situations, and I thought, wow, that is a cool thing to learn. And I tried. I'd pick up a rock or two, and I'd try to juggle, or I had oranges at the house and just failed miserably. Pretty much couldn't get it to go. So I got to the point where I really believed that I couldn't juggle. Later on in college, I met this pretty amazing person, and as we became friends, she shared with me that she knew how to juggle. And she taught me a couple of basic techniques on how to do it. So one of the things she said was that, you got to be consistent in your throws from both your right hand and your left hand. So that's really important that you end up getting this down first, because this is the critical piece of being able to juggle. The ball's got to go up and down, and you got to catch it with both hands. But probably the piece that I was missing was that when a ball reaches its peak is the critical moment to throw the other one. So it's all about timing. If you work at this part of it, and it takes a long time sometimes to just get comfortable just doing this. But the key is that each throw is basically to the same spot. You are able to then get into a rhythm. The third one then, when it comes into play, is simply a timing synchronicity type piece. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Same basic throws. Throw the ball when the one reaches its peak. And if you continue to do that, you will end up getting better and better at the overall ability to juggle. The hard part, though, is that many times when people start, they'll throw a couple and they'll drop it, or the throws are way out there and they can't get control, and they get frustrated, and they can begin to convince themselves that they can't. So over the years, as I've shared this in classes that I taught, was to share with them that there are 3 basic steps to being successful, particularly in this case about juggling, but I think these apply to just about anything. First off, you got to believe you can. When I was a teenager, I believed I couldn't. I was really frustrated, and I tried different ways, and it just wasn't working for me. So I convinced myself that I could not. And so believing you can't, you're probably going to be right with that, because if you believe you can't, you're not going to try, and therefore you'll never learn. The other side of it is I learned that I believed I could, and I had encouragement from this pretty amazing person that I talked about earlier, who ended up being my wife. And she's amazing in many ways, but juggling is one of the really cool things that she's able to do. We've had our children learn that over the years too, so we have a little circus every once in a while around the house. But with that being said, believing that we could was important, but we found a right way. And that for me was just, again, whenever that one ball reaches its peak, you throw the other one. And then you just keep working at it, which is the third thing. You have to work at it. You have to put in the time. Many years ago, as a math teacher, I learned that the brain, to learn new math techniques, to learn how to do a quadratic equation, for instance, you have to work at it several times, anywhere from 20 to 50 times, to become good at something. And so how many times do we not do that? We try a few times, we get discouraged, and we quit. So in terms of juggling, you've got to work your way through some of those moments of frustration. And if you continue to work at things over time, you will become really good at it. Matter of fact, Malcolm Gladwell says in one of his books that if you put in your 10,000 hours, you can become an expert. It might take several years to get to 10,000 hours in some cases, but it is doable. You just got to take it one moment at a time. So as you're trying to figure out the process, remember it's just one ball, then two, then you get your third one in there, and you get your basic cascade juggling. But once you get more comfortable with it, you can start throwing some different things in. Throw different techniques. It's really something you can have a lot of fun with, but you've just got to put in the hours. So now that we have plenty of those, I encourage you and challenge you to pick up something new. Find a couple of things to juggle, preferably not eggs. That can be really messy. But in the process, I hope you learn something new. Maybe it's doing something else. Maybe learning an instrument, picking up a guitar or a ukulele, or maybe it's building something, learning some woodworking or painting, or helping around the house, doing different things that you've not done in a long time. Try it. And if we get a chance to share with me anything new that you've learned, I'd love to hear about it. So take the most of the time that we have, make the most of the time that we have, and I hope that you will believe you can do it, find a right way, and work at it. And I love to hear about your success. Thanks.